Hi guys, good evening. I am Ilangovan, onlineaxi.com, resource person for teaching zoology. So we started the class with the reproduction in the previous classes. We have concluded also about the male and female reproductive systems and how far actually the sperms have been transported from the male to the female, what are the accessory structures we needed for the transport of the sperm, etc. Now the next event normally happening during the lifetime of an individual, nothing but the fertilization process followed by implantation. So you have just actually the first event before fertilization process, insemination. That is nothing but the transfer of the sperms from the body of the male into the body of the female. So during copulation, what we call this one actually insemination process, natural insemination process. The sperms are inseminated into the vagina, the birth canal, the copulative canal. And from where now the sperms are transported to the cervix, the mouth of the uterus, then finally the fallopian tube. Now in the fallopian tube, you know that one we have the first part, infundibulum, having finger-shaped actually projections for collecting the ovum from the ovary. Then ampulla, a swollen structure, and followed by isthmus. Now the process of actually fertilization happens to occur in the region, in the fallopian tube generally. Generally we can say fertilization occurs not in the uterus but in the fallopian tube. Particularly in the fallopian tube at the junction of ampulla and isthmus. So popularly known as ampullary isthmic junction. So this is a junction where you have normally found in the fallopian tube between just the ampulla as well as isthmus. And now also, and for the effective fertilization process, we need both the partners, that is the male and female gametes. So both male and female gametes have to be transported towards the ampullary isthmic junction. So fertilization is possible only the simultaneous transportation of the sperm as well as egg to the destination. What we call this one, the isthmic junction, ampullary isthmic junction. So where fertilization takes place. So it is possible only when the sperms and eggs are transported to this region. And so don't forget, fallopian is the main place of fertilization process, and that is specifically the region what we call this one, ampullary isthmic junction. That is found, just we will see in the picture also. We already see, once again we will see the picture about where you have this area. Now fertilization can only occur, I mentioned already, if ovum and then sperm are simultaneously transported to this place where what we have the process found occur. Now what we call this one fertilization in simple terms. So the process of mixing of the male and female gamete, or the process of mixing, actually the process of fusion of male and female gametes, or the process of fusion of sperm with an ovum or egg is called fertilization. So it is also called amphimixis. It is also called amphimixis for mixing of the nuclei of the egg and sperm. The mixing of the nuclei of the egg and sperm is called amphimixis. But the general word used for the fertilization process, simply the fusion of male and female gametes, what we call this one fertilization is called syngamy. Syngamy. The union of male and female gametes is called syngamy, and followed by the fusion of the male and female pronuclei, what we call this one, the nuclei called pronuclei is called amphimixis, mixing of the two, resulting in the formation of a diploid nucleus. So this is the fusion of the nuclei, and this is simply the fusion of the male and female gamete. Now, so what will happen at the time of fertilization? So we can have a beautiful, just actually colored egg, and also what is happening at the time of fertilization. So millions of sperms are approaching a single egg. A single egg is being approached by a number of eggs, not 1 or 2,000, but millions of eggs are approaching at a time. But only one sperm enters into the egg. So as soon as one sperm touches the egg surface, suppose this is the egg surface, a sperm is touching. We have seen already a structure formed in the sperm head, what we call this one acrosome. So we have the outer egg membrane, what we call this one pellucida. This is the membrane, a primary egg membrane of the egg. We have seen already. I don't want to explain furthermore. So as soon as one sperm touches the egg, what will happen? Some chemical changes are taking place in the egg. Now the surface of the egg is called cortex. This is what we call this one, cortex. In the cortex are found some granules. So here is the nucleus. Now here the granules are formed. They are called as the cortical granules. So these granules contain some substances. As soon as actually the sperm touches the egg surface, we have received a number of actually chemical reactions occurring in the egg cortex. The granules burst, releasing the chemicals, the substances. They are adhered to the plasma membrane. As a result, what will happen? A new membrane is developed. What we call this one, fertilization membrane. There is a space, what we call this one, perivitalizing space. This is the one. The space is formed where only we have some chemical reactions are taking place. The materials are added to the plasma membrane, and as soon as these chemical reactions are taking place, a new membrane is developed. What we call this one, fertilization membrane. The function of the fertilization membrane is to prevent what we call this one, polyspermy. So at a time only one sperm can alone be allowed to enter into the egg. And once a sperm touches the egg surface, all these chemical reactions are taking place. A new membrane is formed, what is called fertilization membrane. Now, what is the function of the fertilization membrane? To prevent any more sperms to enter into the egg. The entry of more than one sperms into the egg is called polyspermy, polygamy. It is also called polygamy, but here we are mentioning the name polyspermy. The entry of more than one sperm into the egg is called polyspermy, and that is being prevented because of some changes occurring in the egg, and that result in the formation of a membrane, and that membrane is called fertilization membrane, which prevents the entry of any more sperms into the egg. That phenomenon is called polyspermy. Entry of more than one sperm is called polyspermy. That is being prevented by actually the chemical events. Now, what is the role of the sperm? Actually, the sperm enters into the egg because of various phenomena. So, the penetration of the sperm into the egg. Then we have the cortical reactions. Then we have the movement of that is the sperm nucleus towards the egg nucleus. And by the time also you know that one, the egg is fertilized at the stage of secondary oocyte. So, the egg is released on ovulation with the stage of secondary oocyte. That means the first meiotic division alone complete. The second meiotic division happens to occur only when the sperm touches the egg surface. So as soon as one sperm touches the egg surface, so I tell you about these twins, there's two sperm entered are born. So we have two types of what we can see twins. One, fraternal twins. Fraternal. Also called as just fraternal twins. What we call is one, dizygotic twins. Dizygotic twins. Another type, identical. Another type, identical. Identical twins. They are called monozygotic twins. Monozygotic. So what is the meaning for that one? In the case of fraternal twins, there are two eggs are released, either by right ovary or by left ovary. Just normally only one egg is released at a time, but in this case two eggs are released by both the ovaries. Two eggs are released at a time, and these two eggs are fertilized by two different. So we are getting two different zygotes, and each one develops into an individual. So here the two individuals are developed from two different zygotes, hence called dizygotic twins or called fraternal twins. In these cases, the twins may be of the same sex or of different sex, but not having identical genotype. They are different, maybe externally similar, but there are variations. We cannot actually even do the phenomenon of what is called plastic surgery or grafting. That is, skin graft cannot be made between the fraternal twins, or the muscle plastic surgery cannot be done between these brethren because they have different genetic lineage. But in the case of identical twins, there is only one egg. It's being fertilized by a single sperm. We are getting the zygote. So what will happen after the formation of zygote? The zygote divides into 2, 4, 8. That is, the number increases geometrically, so that you will get what we call this one a ball-like structure, the morula. But normally what will happen at the end of first division, we are getting two cells. Normally the cells, the resultant cells of the embryo stuck together. But in the case of this one, what will happen? The two cells get separated. So we are getting two different cells. And each cell has a totipotency of developing into an embryo. So we are getting two embryos from a single egg, fertilized by a single sperm. After fertilization, actually we have the zygote. The zygote divides into two and each one develops into an embryo. So here these twins are called monozygotic twins as we have developed from a single zygote. And that too, these twins are exactly alike genetically, physically, in all aspects. Such twins are called identical twins. There we can do the process of plastic surgery also, skin grafting also, it is possible. So now we are doing this one, for example, this what we have, the autograft, or we have what is called isograft. So isograft can be made only between the identical twins, not between the fraternal twins. So that is about what we have, identical as well as fraternal twins. We have two eggs, that is only one, and these two are fertilized by two different sperms developing into two different individuals. Here only one egg being fertilized by a single sperm. After fertilization divides into two, each one develops into an embryo, and both are exactly alike, both genetically as well as physically. Now coming back to this one. So we have the acrosome. The acrosome contains some chemicals. What we call this one the sperm lysins. I mentioned already, the acrosome is a source of sperm lysins, some chemicals. And the sperm lysins chemical nature is different in different types of species. And that is the one responsible for actually dissolving the egg membrane and helps in the entry of the sperm into the egg. That phenomenon, what we call this one, the penetration of the sperm into the egg, is affected by the sperm lysins. I mentioned already we have different types of actually sperm lysins. In human sperm, the acrosome contains one sperm lysin, namely hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid. The name of the sperm lysin in the case of that is human just sperm is called hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid. Because you see the secondary membranes, what we call this one primary egg membrane, secondary egg membrane. So the follicle cells form an outer covering around the egg surface above the zona pellucida, what we call this one the corona radiata. The corona radiata. So the cells of the corona radiata are stuck together because of the sperm lysin hyaluronic acid. And that is why, so we have a sperm lysin and that is used for dissolving this hyaluronic acid, the one responsible for sticking together of the follicle cells. Hence the name hyaluronidase. Hyaluronidase. So hyaluronidase is a sperm lysin. Hyaluronic acid is the one responsible for cementing together of the cells of the corona radiata. So the cement, the sticker, what we have this hyaluronic acid being removed, and that is being done by the sperm lysin hyaluronidase. Don't forget. The name of the sperm lysin in the case of a human male sperm is called what is known as hyaluronidase. That is used for dissolving the hyaluronic acid as cementing substance responsible for cementing together of the follicle cells. Okay. Now what will happen? So at a time a number of sperms are approaching. So only one sperm that enters into the egg. As soon as one sperm touches the egg that is in what we call this one just completed the first meiotic division, having the stage of secondary oocyte undergoes the second meiotic division. So once the second meiotic division has been completed, we have received what we call this one the OT or O. So in the case of oogenesis, I mentioned already. The egg is released at the stage of what we call this one the secondary oocyte, just completed only the first meiotic division and waiting for actually the sperm touch to complete its second meiotic division. So only by the touch of the sperm alone, the egg is undergoing the second meiotic division, leading to the formation of oocyte and finally converted to egg. This is what is happening in the case of oogenesis. So the second meiotic division is also unequal in nature. Don't forget, at the time of ovulation, the egg has completed only the first meiotic division. It is in the stage of primary oocyte has been converted to what we call this one the secondary oocyte. So it is in the stage of secondary oocyte. So the secondary oocyte now just underwent what we call this one actually the second meiotic division, resulting in the formation of oocyte. So the second meiotic division is also, you know, that one unequal in nature. A large oocyte and a small polar body is formed. Now in the oocyte we have haploid nucleus, what we call this one the pronucleus, because they are going to give rise actually both the sperm and the egg nucleus are called pronuclei because they are going to give rise to a new just individual or embryo. Hence the name it is given a pronucleus, sperm pronucleus and the egg pronucleus. So by the fusion of the egg and sperm we have received what we call this one the diploid zygote. The diploid zygote is developed having 2n number of chromosomes. The newly formed nucleus is called synkaryon, united nucleus. The newly formed nucleus is called synkaryon, having 2n number of chromosomes. So that is about the fertilization process. You see that one. So the picture shows, a colorful picture shows what we call the egg, the human egg, the female gamete or ovum. So it is being enhanced with purple color and photograph has been taken. This is the original egg. See the surface, the net-like surface is nothing but actually the membrane zona pellucida. This zona pellucida. And it is being surrounded by or over which we have many cells. What we call this one together corona radiata. The cells of the corona radiata are nothing but the follicle cells secreted by the follicle lying over this one. So here represented only one or two, just the coronal cells. Other cells being already removed by means of just actual mechanical process to show the external appearance. Otherwise we cannot see the surface of the egg. So only two cells are being actually left to show that normally the zona pellucida is being surrounded or covered over by means of a number of coronal cells together form corona radiata, nothing but cells secreted by the follicles. Now this is a beautiful picture of human egg, the photograph. Now here is the surface of the plasma, the surface of actually the plasma membrane and then zona pellucida. So the egg is surrounded by what we have the plasma membrane over which we have the primary egg membrane, what we call this one zona pellucida. See the network-like structure, the yellow color structure represents the zona pellucida, the primary egg membrane. So at the time millions of sperms are approaching a single egg, but only one can enter and all others being left out. See the surface, the blue color filament structures with the thick blue head represent the sperms. So this is what we have. So number of sperms try to enter into a single egg. Now this is the diagrammatic one and that is the real one. Now this is the diagrammatic one. You can see here the ovum. The cells of the corona radiata, what it represented in the just the photograph, the just bright pink color cells or dark pink color cells. They are the cells which together form the corona radiata. Now the next one we have the zona pellucida, the green, and then we have just what we have the periviterine space. A space being formed as soon as the sperm touches the egg surface. That is called the periviterine space, where only we have a number of chemical reactions taking place, ultimately formation of the fertilization membrane, just we will be studying embryology, and ultimately just what will happen. The entry of the more sperm is being prevented. That is called what we call this one as polyspermy. Polyspermy. The entry of more than one sperm is called polyspermy. That is being prevented because of what we have the formation of fertilization membrane. Now what is happening for the changes? So the next stage, normally the first stage we have the formation of gametes. The next stage what we have the fertilization process. This is because of the insemination process. Now the fertilized egg is passing through the isthmus, want to reach the uterus for implantation. want to reach the uterus for implantation, for embedding. And while it is actually passing through the fallopian tube, so as soon as fertilization has been completed, what will happen? The single cell is ready to divide by means of mitosis. So mitotic divisions occur in just normally in the zygote. So we'll have 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage, 8-cell stage, 16-cell stage, and then 32 and so on. So a ball of cells are formed because of what we have the mitotic division of the egg or the segmentation of the egg. And that process of the division of the fertilized egg to form a many cell condition is called cleavage. It's called cleavage. A cleavage process, the division of the egg by mitosis or the segmentation of the egg by mitosis. We can say the division of the egg or segmentation of the egg by mitosis. So the cells are increasing geometrically. At one time we have received a ball of cells. So normally we can say a human embryo of 12 to 16 cell stage called as a morula. So first stage we have zygote, next we have 2-cell, 4-cell, then 8-cell, 16 like that. We have formed a solid ball of cells, what we call this one morula. This morula later transformed into a structure what is called blastocyst in the case of human embryo. But in the case of frog it is called blastula. In the case of bird it is called blastodisc. So it is named differently. Either blastodisc in the case of birds, blastula in the case of frog, or blastocyst in the case of humans. So we have different names for the embryo that begin with what we have received after cleavage process. Now this is a morula. So even after you see that one, the morula formation, some of the spores are there, you see that one, the remaining spores which were unable to enter into the egg or left outside. This is what is happening, they are formed there and later they are being normally absorbed by the fallopian tube or the uterus. That is by the accessory reproductive tract or by the uterus. The sperms are not actually removed away but simply they are absorbed by the uterine wall or by the fallopian wall. So when it occurs the mitotic division, so the mitotic division starts as the zygote passes through the isthmus of the oviduct. This process of the division of the egg, what we call this one, the cleavage, what I mentioned. As a result, the number of cells are increasing in the embryo. From a single cell zygote, we have a multicellular ball of cells formed what is called morula. Now, the morula normally we can say the morula stage 8 to 16 cell stage. The morula stage normally, in some cases we have different meanings, but here in human embryo 8 to 16 blastomeres when formed, then that stage the ball of cells is called morula. Morula is nothing but a solid ball of cells, normally having 8 to 16. Because normally in the case of human embryo or any other vertebrates or any other animal cells, during embryonic development, so only up to 8 cell stage the cells are totipotent. Only up to 8 cell stage the cells are totipotent. That means if you separate one cell or one of the cells from that egg, then that one has the ability of giving rise to the whole organism. Such a cell is said to be totipotent. Once 16 cells are formed, if you isolate one of the cells from the 16 celled condition, and that cell gives rise to only a part, either the head or just the limbs, or we have even the neck or eyes, etc. So the cells after 8 cell stage switch over from totipotent to pluripotent. That means each cell is capable of giving rise to only a part of the organism. Totipotency, a single cell has the ability of giving rise to the whole organism. But in the case of pluripotent, here we have many cells. So a particular cell gives rise to only a particular part of a particular organ of the body. That condition is called pluripotent. So from totipotency, 8 cell stage, the embryo is actually switched over or just actually shifted to what is called the pluripotent stage. And there each cell is capable of giving rise to only one, just what we call this one, just a part of the organism, not the entire organism. So the morula continues to divide and transforms into what we call this one blastocyst. So zygote, 2 cell stage, 4 cell stage, 8 cell stage, 16 cell stage, what we call this one the morula. Now the morula is gradually transformed into The next stage, what we call is the blastocyst. When it is moving towards the uterus. So this blastocyst is nothing but actually a mass of cells. The cells are called blastomeres. Now the cells, the blastomeres of the blastocyst are arranged in two, just what we call is one, into two regions or zones. An outer layer and then inner cell mass. Suppose you are taking this is the blastocyst, the section. So it is formed of actually cells. This is an outer layer. So inside which we have a mass of cells. So two regions you can find in the blastocyst. One, an outer cell mass, outer cell layer, and an inner cell mass which is attached to, that is the outer layer. Now the outer layer is normally a covering layer, also responsible for drawing nourishment during later stage of development from the uterine wall, hence called the trophoblast. Trophoblast, concerned with the nutrition, receiving the nutrients from the uterine wall and then providing that one to the inner cell mass, which later becomes the embryo. Now the outer layer is called as a trophoblast, and the inner cell mass, which contains a group of cells which are normally found and here are attached to this what we call this one, the trophoblast. So once blastocyst is formed, it is differentiated into an outer layer, what we call this one, the trophoblast layer, an inner cell mass, and that is attached to the trophoblast. Now what is happening? So further the embryo is actually moving towards the uterus. And now what will happen? The outer layer, suppose this is the uterine wall, if you are taking just a simple diagram, this is a uterine wall. Now this trophoblast gets attached to the wall of the uterus. Now this is the wall of the uterus, this is the blastocyst with the inner cell mass. Now this trophoblast gets attached to the uterus wall. Once it is getting attached to the uterine wall, what will happen? The cells of the uterus, what we call is one, the innermost, like the endometrial cells, the endometrium. It undergoes rapid divisions, forming many cells and completely surrounding the whole embryo like this. These are all the cells which are normally developed from, that is, a uterus. So as a result, what will happen? The full embryo, namely the blastocyst, gets embedded in the uterine wall. This phenomenon of embedding of the blastocyst, just because of the rapid mitotic divisions of the uterine wall cells, to cover, so normally the endometrium, the innermost layer only just forms divisions because it is formed of mucous cells and covering the whole embryo, and this phenomenon is called implantation process. So you have the fertilization that develop into an implantation only on the wall of the uterus, and ovulation that occurs normally in the ovary because of the discharge of the ovum. Don't forget that one. Now the embedding occurs. This phenomenon of embedding of what is called the embryo into the uterine wall is called implantation. That depends on mainly just the repeated mitotic divisions of the endometrial cells covering the whole embryo. Now it is fully surrounded by just the layers of cells formed by the endometrium. So now I mentioned already the trophoblast layer then gets attached to the endometrium, and the inner cell mass later now gets differentiated into an embryo. So the embryo is formed only from the inner cell mass, whereas now what we have actually the outer layer, the trophoblast layer, gets attached to the uterine wall. Now what will happen? So now the whole embryo is normally surrounded by just actually mass of cells, namely the endometrial cells, covering the whole embryo. It gets fully embedded. Now this phenomenon, what I mentioned, just the blastocyst becomes embedded in the endometrium of the uterus. This is called the implantation process. And finally, now once implantation happens to occur, now the next event starts, what we call this one, the pregnancy. So followed by the implantation process, now we have the pregnancy, also called as a gestation period. See that one, the gestation period varies in different types of mammals. Now you see in the case of human embryo, if you are taking the egg, what we call this one, just actually the egg or ovum, we can classify the eggs based on the amount of yolk. In some cases, you know that when the yolk is present abundant, say an example of bird's feet, such an egg is called macrolithical, having large amount of yolk. In some egg, we have moderate amount of yolk. Yolk is a reserve food. Yolk is a reserve food. So moderate amount of yolk. See, and that one is called mesovesicle, as seen in the case of frog. And in the case of mammal, particularly in the case of human beings, the egg is called alesical. That means the yolk is completely absent, the reserve food is absent. Why? So it is a mother who provides nourishment to the developing embryo. So the main function of the actual yolk is providing nourishment to the developing embryo. So in the case of, you see that one hen's egg is being separated from the mother. The development is taking place only inside the egg shell. That is why it needs food, because it is independent. But here the embryo is dependent on mother. That is why we have normally the uterine development is there. See, the uterus, the maternal blood provides nourishment to the fetus. That is why there is no need to develop or form or synthesize the yolky materials in the case of human egg. That's why it is called as alesical egg. There is a reason. It is the mother who provides nourishment. So, who looks after the developing embryo? Unlike the reptiles or birds, there you have eggs are dependent. They are independent. The fertilization once happened, the eggs are released from the body of the female. They are undergoing development inside the shell. They are not depending on the mother for their nourishment. But here it is the embryo depending on mother. That is why there is no need to have yolk in the cytoplasm of the egg. Hence, human egg is called alesical. Now, after implantation, say this is a photograph. You can see just simply the inner uterine wall. So this area is nothing but the endometrium or a represent uterine endometrium. This is a 6-day-old embryo, the yellow colored one. A colored one, what is color is given just to show the difference between the two. Now this embryo gets attached to the wall of the endometrium. That's the phenomenon is called implantation. The embedding, what we call the embedding of the embryo to the wall of the uterus is called embedding or implantation. So this is a picture shows how far the embryo gets attached to the wall of the uterus. Now this is the diagram also just asked in the question paper, in the NEET question paper, the various stages you have to just identify. Now these are the different events what I explained so far has been given in a full diagrammatic pattern to show the different stages. Now the egg, this is what we are starting with the egg or the womb, unfertilized egg. At the stage of secondary oocyte, Now we have the fertilization process happens in this area. This is what is called ampullary isthmic junction. So as soon as fertilization occurs, you have received what we call this one, just the fertilized egg. Now this is the egg, and this one just the sperms are approaching and fertilization occurs, resulting in the formation of a zygote. And before the egg completed, what we call the second reduction division. Now this is a two-cell stage. That means nothing but the cleavage process already being started here. So it happens like in the fallopian tube as soon as fertilization has been completed. Now we have the next one. This is 8-cell stage. All are happening. You see that one. So at the same time, simultaneously, the egg is transported towards the uterus for implantation or for what is called that is the embedding of the fertilized egg. So we have this is 4-cell stage and this is more I mentioned up to. So in the case of actually human being, 8 to 16-cell stage is considered as a Morula stage. Here it is an 8-cell stage. This is what we have the 16-cell condition. Both are nothing but the Morula stages, only more or less. Now later it is being converted into, this is what is called the blastocyst. Now this is the blastocyst. You see that what in the case of blastocyst, we have an outer layer of cells and that is called the trophoblast. An inner cell mass. So it is the trophoblast that is covering the embryo. The inner cell mass later differentiated into an embryo. So the main embryonic structure is developed only from the inner cell mass. The trophoblast is only mentioned, actually only concerned with the formation of placenta and also for attachment towards the uterine wall, etc. All are because of the trophoblast, drawing nourishment from the uterine wall and providing it to just the inner cell mass. So these are all some of the course of events happening during the process of fertilization, and then the passage for the transport of the fertilized egg, and further events happening, the cleavage process, formation of blastocyst and its attachment to the inner wall of the uterus, what we call this one endometrium. Now we have the implantation process. Now pregnancy and embryonic development. So what is happening? See, in the case of mammals who are peculiar characters, the two mammals, you know that one, the mammalia, class mammalia has been divided in two. There is prototheria, metatheria and eutheria. Now in the case of prototherians, you know the egg-laying mammals like platypus, there is no menstrual cycle, there is no such events. So they are egg-laying mammals. Monotremes, the name referring to, they have single aperture, cloaca. There is no separate urinary aperture or reproductive aperture, and anus. That's why they are called as monotremes. The second one, marsupialia, kangaroo, the opossums, they have marsupium. Here the embryo is released in an actually immature stage. The further maturity of the embryo or the young one is taking place only in a marsupium, as in kangaroo with a pouch. Now in the case of the third category, what we have here all belonging to the metatherians, prototherians, metatherians. So metatherians, then we have the eutherians. We are all eutherians, true mammals. So we are also coming under one order, what we call this one placentalia, animals with the placenta. So once the embryo is formed and it's been implanted on the wall of the uterus, it needs further help from the mother, from the maternal. So also just removing the waste materials what it developed in course of development, in course of metabolic activities. So the materials being removed from the embryo and useful materials being supplied to the embryo. For that we need a structure, and that structure normally responsible for a connecting link between the fetus and the maternal uterine wall. Now what is the name of the structure? How is it developed? Now the embryonic development. So what will happen after implantation? See the outer trophoblast, what I mentioned just become, this is the trophoblast layer. It forms finger-like projections like this. Now this is a uterine wall. This is a uterine wall. I am taking this is a uterine wall. And this is actually the finger-like projection. What we call this one villi formed from the trophoblast. So finger-like projections are produced by actually the trophoblast. The finger-like projections are formed by the trophoblast, and they are together called as chorionic villi. They are together called as chorionic. So you know that when we are all amniotes, we have extra embryonic membranes, choria, amnion, allantois and yolk sac. Normally in our case, in the case of reptiles and birds, all the four are present. They are called as extra embryonic membranes, choria, amnion, allantois and yolk sac. That is why the reptiles, birds and mammals are together called as amniotes, having extra embryonic membranes, many amnion. And it is the one which is now enclosing the embryo, bathing the embryo by secreting the fluid. That is all what we know, what we call this one, the just a bag-like structure filled with the fluid for preventing the shock to the embryo. Bathing. That's called the amniotic fluid. We can also do the phenomenon of testing the sex of the baby by a process what we call this one amniocentesis. Amniocentesis. That is a method of finding the nature of the sex of the individual. Just also for knowing any other disorder, genetic disorders in the embryo. We'll come to this later. So anyway, now what will happen? The trophoblast form finger-like projections which fit into the cavity-like structure formed by the uterine wall called as crypts. That structure is called crypts. So we have cavities in the uterine wall and the projection from the trophoblast, and there occurs what we call this one interdigitation. So there is a lock and key mechanism. That means interdigitate. Now what we have, This villi and what we have the crypts, the cavities, they become interdigitated together to form a structure. Now this is a structure together. A plate-like structure being developed, and that structure is called as a placenta. That structure is called as a placenta. So our placenta, we have different types of placenta and different types of mammals. So our placenta is actually formed mainly by the chorea. This is called hemochorial type. Hemochorial type. The type of placenta in human being is called hemochorial type. So the trophoblast produces finger-like projections. Corresponding cavities are formed in the uterine wall called as crypts. Now between the crypts and villi we have interdigitations, resulting in the formation of a unit, a structural unit, a functional unit, what we call as one placenta. This is number one stage. Because the embryo needs barely or almost all the materials from the mother. It needs a mother's help. So the first structure formed is nothing but the placenta. For drawing nourishment and removing the waste materials, all being happened occur mainly through placenta. So after implantation, finger-like projection appear on the trophoblast, what I mentioned, called the chorionic villi, and they are surrounded by uterine tissues and maternal blood. Now it projects into the uterine wall. It's completely surrounded by the uterine tissue as well as the maternal blood. Now a contact being developed between the mother through this uterine wall, through her uterine wall, and just the embryo. So the chorionic villi in the uterine endometrium becomes interdigitated, what I mentioned earlier, with each other and jointly forms a structure and functional unit. A structural and functional unit. The structure form is called placenta, which is nothing but a structural and functional unit that is helping the embryo. It is normally developed between the developing embryo, what we call this one fetus, and the maternal body called placenta. I mentioned already what is the role of this placenta. So normally the placenta is responsible for transporting materials or facilitating the transport of materials between the maternal blood and the fetal blood. So the fetal blood or the fetus receives food materials, oxygen like gases for oxidation process to release energy from the maternal blood. At the same time, from the body of the fetus, the waste materials have been removed through this placenta. So it acts as a bridge between the fetus and the. So in addition to that one, the placenta also secretes some hormones. And these hormones are responsible almost for maintaining the pregnancy. One, what we call this one HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. Another hormone, just HPL, human placental lactogen. Human placental lactogen. Along with just we have the steroidal hormone, estrogen and progesterone also secreted at a later stage of pregnancy by the placenta. All these are all responsible for maintaining the pregnancy. So anyway, the placenta secretes human chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen, some amount of estrogen, some amount of progesterone. Progesterone is mainly secreted by the corpus luteum of the ovary. Somehow it is also being secreted by, that is the placenta. Then, so together with there is also another hormone secreted towards the end of the pregnancy, namely relaxing hormone. It is not secreted to begin with. So when the embryo is developing, to relax the ligaments of the uterus to provide more accommodation for the developing embryo. Another hormone is also secreted by the corpus luteum of the ovary, the one which secretes progesterone, what is called relaxin. Now these three hormones, namely chorionic gonadotropin, then just placental lactogen, and these relaxin hormone, these three are secreted only when there is pregnancy. There is no other hormones may be secreted, even this progesterone is somewhat secreted. But mainly these three hormones are secreted only the placenta is formed, and also just pregnancy is assured. So it is concerned with only maintaining the pregnancy. That is why these hormones are playing a major role, interacting together in one way or other, just helping the development of the fetus. I mentioned already, see that one just specified specifically. Human growth hormone, human chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen, and relaxin, all produced in women only during pregnancy. In addition to this one, in the maternal blood or in mother's blood, some hormones are increasing in many folds. Multifold increase of certain hormones are there. Mainly, for example, the progesterone hormone, the relaxing hormone. This is actually late progesterone hormone to begin with. Progesterone, estrogen, and just what we have the prolactin hormone. In addition to these three hormones, so progesterone, we have estrogen, prolactin. Along with these hormones, the hormone from thyroxine is also increasing. The hormone from adrenal cortex is also increasing. Because these are all the hormones concerned with carbohydrate metabolism. Thyroxine and cortisol, they are playing major role in carbohydrate metabolism. So the mother needs more energy, to provide more energy, to increase the rate of oxidation. The hormone levels in the mother's blood is increasing, mainly for three reasons. So 5 hormones I mentioned here: estrogen, progesterone, then prolactin, thyroxine from this thyroid gland, cortisol from adrenal cortex gland, all are increased, multifold increase in just what is called in the maternal blood. So they are all concerned with supporting the growth of the fetus, maintaining the pregnancy, and also the metabolic changes in the mother's body. Metabolic change is nothing but the increase in oxidation process to provide mother energy, because mother has to provide energy to the fetus also in addition to herself. That is why metabolic changes are taking place. So the role of these hormones, why are these hormones are increasing the maternal blood? Because number one reason, supporting the fetal growth. Number two, just we have metabolic changes in the mother's body on the maternal blood. And number three, to maintain the pregnancy. We need all these hormones help. Now the placenta is formed, I mentioned already. Just suppose it's a uterine wall, this is the placenta. This is a plate-like structure, this is what we call this one placenta, this is a uterine wall. Now here is a developing embryo. So the placenta is not connected directly. Once it is formed from the trophoblast, then what will happen later? It is being connected to the intestine of the embryo by means of a tube. The name of the tube is called umbilical cord. Name of the tube is called umbilical cord. So normally the umbilical cord at the time of birth is formed of jelly-like connective tissue. Jelly-like connective tissue is formed only in the umbilical cord. Just at the time of birth, we can see that one. So umbilical cord is nothing but a tubular structure connecting the uterine wall. That is the placenta. Mainly we can say, not the uterine wall, we can say, specifically speaking. So connecting the placenta, the structural unit, the functional unit, to the intestine of the fetus. And this is the way actually the embryo and the maternal blood is connected. And through this only the umbilical cord is provided with what we have, just the blood vessels, etc. Through this umbilical cord only, the food materials are transported, oxygen transported, the waste materials are. To begin with, the direct connection will be immediately formation of the embryo. Just we have the embryo is in connection with the placenta. Later, it gets separated, but there is a connection. What connection? The two connections between the placenta and the uterus. What we have the embryo, the fetus, is nothing with the umbilical cord, a connector. So what will happen now? So immediately after implantation, what will happen? So already the trophoblast taking part in the formation of just what we have the finger-like projections to form the placenta, etc. And what is the fate of the inner cell mass? Now the inner cell mass actually what we have the embryo formation, and that inner cell mass gets differentiated into 3 germinal layers, formation of germinal layers, namely the ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. So these are all the 3 layers which have developed, and once the 3 layers are formed, from which only we have the various organs and organ systems are formed. That phenomenon is called organogenesis. Now what we have, the differentiation of the inner cell mass into ecto, endo and mesoderms. Later these layers get differentiated into, or they give rise to the various organs and organ systems, and that phenomenon is called organogenesis. And some of the cells, instead of just undergoing differentiation of actual differentiation to form ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm, some cells remain as stem cells in embryo, the embryonic mass. And these cells have the ability of giving rise to any organ or organ systems. So not all cells being differentiated to ectoderm and mesoderm, some cells remain as stem cells. They have the ability of giving rise to, they have the potentiality, or they have the potential to give rise to the different organs and organ systems. Such cells are called stem cells. That's why we are using the stem cells only for cloning technology. Even for organ transplantation, if you want to just culture an organ, just develop or form an organ, that is by means of cloning, they are using only the stem cells because they have the ability of giving rise to the whole organ. So that is why they are considered as totipotent cells also. So that's all about what we have the fertilization process and implantation. And followed by we have the embryonic development. So what is happening at different stages of development? So in human case, and it lasts about 9 months. We can say simply 36 weeks. The embryonic development in human being is considered the total duration 36 weeks. Being divided into 3 parts. First trimester, second trimester, and third trimester. First trimester, second trimester, third trimester. So the first 12 weeks, second 12 weeks, and third 12 weeks. Instead of using the word, there is months, first month, second month, like that. So normally the doctors are actually calculating based on only the first, second, and third trimesters. We have first 12 weeks, second 12 weeks, and third 12 weeks, altogether 9 months. So we are calling this one 280 days. Generally speaking, we can have 9 months of duration. So the pregnancy period is otherwise called the gestation period. The gestation period varies from one individual to another. Now, what will happen after 1 month? The heart starts actually beating. The heart starts beating. That means the heart is formed after 1 month. Then after 2 months, just by the end of the month, the fetus normally develops the limbs and the digits. The limbs are developed by 2 months. Then during the first trimester, after 12 weeks, you know, almost all the organs being developed. Even you see that one, the limbs more or less grow fully. The external genital organs are well developed. So after 12 weeks only, you can be able to differentiate whether it is a male or female sex. Okay, by just blood analysis, we can say, by amniocentesis, we can say there is a male or female element. By just observing through what we call this one the scanning. And by scanning method, you can see whether it is a male or female only up to 12 weeks. Then only you can have the external genital organs being developed just towards the posterior end. So by the end of 12 weeks, we have the major organs is almost developed. And also we have the full formation of the digits because the digits are actually formed, the limbs are developed first along with the digits. And as well as the genital organs, external genitalia being differentiated only after 12 weeks. So the next one, by the end of during the 5th month, you can just find out the movement. You can notice the movement of the embryo, and also the hair formation at the top, just in the head region. And we have during the just at the end of the 2nd trimester, after the end of 24 just weeks, we can have the whole body is covered with hair, as in the case of the mammalian character. Then at that time only, by the end of this 24 weeks, by the end of the 2nd trimester only, now the eyelids open. The formation of the eyelashes also occur at the end of this just 24 weeks. So now after that one, the 3rd trimester, almost all the organs are developed. The embryo is now ready to be delivered. And that phenomenon is called what is known as the birth of the baby. And this is the diagrammatic representation showing just the development of embryo. And it is being fully surrounded by the extra-embryonic membranes, what we call this one, amnion, chorion, and lactis. Though here it is represented as yolk sac. Normally in our case we don't have any yolk sac, it is vestigial. It is not fully developed. We have mainly amnion, chorion, and lactis, the 3 extra-embryonic membranes. It is actually negligible or vestigial in nature. Now this is the remaining cavity of the uterus. The embryo is fully formed. It is accommodating actually the womb of the mother is accommodating the whole embryo. That is why it is fully engaging or encroaching the whole uterus. And now this is our umbilical cord which is being developed from the embryo and the placenta. Now this structure is a placenta. See that one, the villi. The villi and placenta. And through this one just we have the transport of materials. This is what we call the placental villi. The villi is normally fitted into the cavities, what we call as the crypts of the uterine wall. So we have interdigitation of these two structures that together only form the placenta. The part of the endometrium or the part of the uterine wall plus the villi produced the trophoblast, the outer covering, together form the total embryo. Now parturition. So the process of delivering the baby is called parturition, or what we call this one childbirth. And what is the reason for this childbirth? This is because of the vigorous contraction of the uterine wall. And that is the one responsible for the expulsion of the baby or the fetus from the uterus, and that phenomenon is called parturition and childbirth. The expulsion of the fetus from the uterus because of the voluntary and rapid contraction of the uterus is called what is known as actually parturition process. How is it happen? So parturition is actually the result of a complex neuroendocrine signals. Both the hormonal and nervous system are taking part in the parturition process or the birth of the baby. Not only the nervous system but also the endocrine. That is, one hormone mainly is taking part in parturition process along with the reflex from the nervous system. So it is because of the effect of both nervous as well as endocrine activities. Where does the signal come from? The signal is not coming from the mother. The signal is not coming from external sources. So the signal for birth is coming mainly from the fully developed fetus and the placenta. So the fetus is ready to go out. So that is why it is ready to actually give a signal. So the signal for delivery, the signal for the delivery of the baby or the signal for the birth is coming only from the fully developed fetus and as well as placenta. They only stimulate. And that reflex activity is called fetal ejection reflex. The reflex action brought about by actually the embryo as well as placenta to bring about the contractions of the uterine wall responsible for the birth of the baby is called fetal ejection reflex. Now this one only once the contraction begins, once the fetal ejection reflex being started because of the fully developed what is called the fetus and the placenta. Now these two, normally the movements, the placental movements as well as the fetal movements, what we call this one together as the fetal ejection reflex. It is stimulating the posterior pituitary to secrete one hormone, what is called oxytocin, the one responsible for the birth. This is a hormone secreted in the posterior pituitary, the neurohypophysis along with ADH, and this oxytocin is called the birth hormone or rapid birth hormone, responsible for triggering the contractions of the uterine wall. So as a result of the oxytocin secretion more and more, it is acting on the uterine wall, making it to contract vigorously. This contraction furthermore just triggers the secretion of oxytocin. And as a result, we have the vigorous contractions occurring. So the simultaneous reflex between the contractions of the uterine wall and the oxytocin hormone, these two reflexes, the release of hormone and the contractions of the uterine wall, these are all together called as reflexes. The reflexes are actually involuntary process. Once the embryo is ready to be delivered, it is happening. That's why it's called fetal ejection reflex. So because of the simultaneous reflex between the contractions of the uterine wall and the release of the oxytocin from the posterior lobe of the pituitary, that results furthermore stronger contractions. Ultimately, the expulsion of the fetus from the uterus, and that phenomenon is called the parturition process. So don't forget, the stimulus is coming from the embryo and the fully formed just the placenta. Now what is lactation? So it is one of the events you know that one associated with the birth or parturition. So what will happen during pregnancy? Some sort of differentiation of the cells taking place in the mammary glands. In the mammary glands or in the mammary. So it starts actually once the differentiation occurs. Now the cells inside, what we studied already, the external appearance, internal appearance about the ampulla, the alveoli, all these things actually the alveolar cells are concerned with the secretion of the milk. So the alveoli of the mammary glands are ready to produce the milk, and the production of the milk is called what is known as lactation process. The process of secretion of the milk or the process of formation of the milk is called lactation or lactogenesis. So the formation of milk is somehow under the control of the hormone, namely the prolactin hormone or lactogenic hormone. So the prolactin hormone or the lactogenic hormone is responsible for the production of the milk. But the release of the milk from the mother's breast is neurohormonal reflex, or possibly we can say neural reflex. The production of the milk is hormonal, but the release of the milk from the lactating breast is normally just what we call this one neuronal reflex. Only by suckling The suckling of the baby only stimulates actually the mammary gland to release. If there is no suckling, there is no release of the milk by the breast. So, the formation of the milk is a hormonal event, and the release of the milk from the lactating breast is purely a neural reflex, stimulating actually the mammary gland to release from the mammary. So the first formed milk for about just nearly a few months is called as colostrum. The first formed milk, normally we can say a few days or just a few days or a few months. The first formed milk secreted is called what is known as a colostrum. Because you know that one, the breastfeeding is always the better feeding. The reason for that one, the colostrum contains large amount of antibodies. The major antibody which is giving protection to the fetus, so now we call this one not fetus, but actually there is a baby, is IgM antibodies. You know, you have studied there are 5 different types of antibodies, A, D, E, M, and G. And now the major antibody found in the colostrum is nothing but IgM antibodies, which provide normally protection to the newborn baby. So that's all about what we have related to the reproduction process. And if you have any questions, just like just Surya has asked, you are most welcome to ask questions, because from 12th standard we are not getting much questions. From other sections we are getting more questions. So if you are interested, you are supposed to ask questions or pose the questions. We are ready to answer it. Till then, just goodbye to you.